I am a raw vegan, been raw vegan for 4 years now, and I was sick for 32 years of my life. I started eating raw foods and I got well. I'd had 60 surgeries, 7 major organs removed. What else? I always had carers. I was on disability payments. I've had Mast Cell Activation Syndrome, congenital diseases. I have had POTS, tachycardia, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, chronic viruses like shingles. And I started eating raw foods and I got really, really well. And I have been doing lives lately, talking on how I've changed my diet to make sure I have a high amount of omega-3s. Hey! And I have so much that keeps happening as I eat this diet. Now, I have linked in the description a kit which has like what Mast Cell Activation Syndrome is. It has the diet that I'm eating at the moment. It has ways that you can help yourself with natural antihistamines, foods to eat, foods not to eat. So you can have a look at that. But basically, Mast Cell Activation Syndrome is like the body's on high alert and you're having allergic reactions to everything. Now, when I healed myself with raw foods, I healed a lot. But then when I got into higher fruits, and I want to talk more about that today, I seem to get all my symptoms back. Not to the extent, nowhere near to the extent that I had, but like allergic to lots of things, skin rashes, joint pain, nerve pain. And I finally, I did have fun with Freely. I finally had fun. I finally found a way to eat. And that is helping my mast cell activation. And there's a few things that keep coming up, and I'd rather just jump on and go live as I do them. The first thing I want to talk about is if people do this diet. Now, it's based very much, so this is how I healed myself. I ate a lot of veggies, a lot of avocados. Now, avocados are high histamine. I cannot have those. So Brooke Goldner does this protocol, and that gave me confidence in what I'm doing because I always knew that having omega-3s, high omega-3 diet really worked well. What is really important about eating this way is if you've got mast cell activation or you're really sensitive and you want to get this oil or these seeds into your body, you more than likely will have a reaction or gut irritation to the seeds. Like the delivery system at the start will activate you until you get enough through the gut wall to deflame you. So a lot of people come at this and they're like, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it. I feel like I've worked harder at this than anything because it's a real push-pull. You want to get what's in the seeds, chia seeds or flax seeds, across your gut wall and into the body, and the body to assimilate that. But an inflamed body doesn't want to assimilate anything. It doesn't want to digest anything. I did start this diet out using flaxseed oil, but being a raw vegan, oil for me just doesn't feel right in my system. It's a push and pull. You have to expect that if you want to get omega-3s in and you're desperate enough, you're sick enough and you want to get them in, whether you do it my way, whether you do it yourself, whether you do it how Dr. Brooke Goldner does it, is more than likely you will get set off. If you're like me, just getting seeds in is problematic. But you have to, it's like you have to do little bit by little bit. If you start to flare, pull back, do some oil. Greatest recommendation, because that's like the first front line of doing a high omega-3 diet, is those seeds, and you have to grind them to get them in or make dressings, can be irritating, and they will be until what's inside the little seeds starts to settle the system. So yes, I understand the importance of omega-3s. I wish it didn't change the texture of my smoothies. Yeah, and it's about this is the other thing about doing this lifestyle, is find foods that you enjoy. Because I saw, is it the Vegetable Police? He spoke about doing all these different diets and how we don't think, like we're like something will fix us or give us weight loss, but there's actually a huge pleasure loop that keeps a human going back to something. So my suggestion is flavor it if you can. I can't use flavors at the moment. I'm like, so if you look at the protocol that I've made for myself, it's attached. I'm not a doctor. I've only supplied this because I know it helps people if they want to see what I'm eating. But you've got to find a way that you enjoy it. So at the moment, if somebody said, eat I find this is purple cabbage with just chia seeds. I'm up in Queensland, so I couldn't get any flax seeds. I usually do half. But I really like this, and I don't like the texture with water. I actually prefer, because I can't use any histamine foods at the moment, like tomatoes or lemons. So the best way is to trick my mind into like crunchy chips with salt. The salt, which also used to set off mast cell activation for me. This is what mast cell activation is like, is I need the sodium to help my food digest. My stomach is actually flatter with sodium because you've got the NaCl, which is sodium chloride, and you've got in your gut hydrochloride to digest the food. I don't have a stomach. My stomach, duodenum and top of intestines has been removed. So I need all the digestive power I can. So I just use salt. But back to find a way to do this that suits you. And I find my stomach is so flat with no histamine foods right now. And the idea is the more I get this across, the less symptomatic I'm getting over time. So this isn't like when I was doing raw food diet, what I felt I was doing was dancing around what I wasn't allergic to, what worked for me. And I was getting trapped on less and less and less foods that I could eat. Whereas I find the more I do this, the less reactive I get first off to my environment. Like, especially like I've got a tiny bit of makeup on right now when I get my nails done. And I'm going to get into what's happened recently. Every time I put more fruit back in, I don't think it's the fruit as much as it is I'm not getting as much omega-3s in, and I start to get sensitive to things again. And I just noticed the more I get in, but it's this big push and pull because it's so heavy on the system. And my system, being a raw vegan and being very fruit-based and water-based foods, is this feels much dense. But what you please know, it gets better over time, and pull back if it gets too heavy. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Don't be like, this just doesn't work. Because I'm up in Queensland, so it's hotter, and I started doing more fruits. And as I did more fruits, I'm getting more and more sensitive to the environment, like I was before I got on to doing more of the flaxseed, chia, and the veggies. I don't think I'm reacting. I'm doing a lot of berries to the berries as much as I'm not getting a protective coat. It's like being coated in that gel that comes out of chia and flax. So, Creative Heart said, I would love to see an updated what I eat in a day. I actually woke up this morning. I've got my editor, there's a whole lot of videos he's got to make for me. And it's just, in fact, why I didn't is I was getting more fatigued from work. And I didn't have the energy, and then I wanted to do lives because I find like I get these moments where I just want to share. So I was getting used to that. But when I get back, that's what I want to do. One of those, there's a video up when I did keto, which I did from the moment I woke up. I filmed everything. It's like over an hour, the video, but things have changed. So I thought I'll do my whole day for you guys when I get back. I guess I could do it up here. It's just hard because my nieces will be up here soon and I'll know that they'll pull me away, but I guess I could film. So you don't eat any avocados? No. Now, no. Avocados were like my favorite, and I know a lot of people, Dr. Brugona's protocol says you can have as many as you want, but I think there's special types of people like myself who mast cell and histamines, it's such a problem. Like I was finding the sweet fruits, the blood sugar change was making my mast cell activation syndrome worse. So I moved across to like tomatoes and avocados, which seemed to do better, but then they were causing histamine response in my body. So I had to get used to not having them. And that seems to be, I seem to be really good with cruciferous vegetables, especially like I just pick my favorites at the moment, which are like broccolini, cauliflower. I will do a little bit of onion, but I find even like onion and chili, which I loved, I try to just stay away from anything which is going to disrupt my gut, while my gut's main job right now is to get this across. Like that's the job. Every time I do something which isn't this, like I have my green juice, I wake up and I have a matcha, I have fruit, berries. As soon as I ignore this, which is hard, it's like a workout, right? Everything, the first thing that comes up is environmental sensitivity. Moodiness too, because everything, like, it's like my nerves burn. So yeah, there's someone behind me. Well, I can see what you see. There's no one behind me. So, am I from Liverpool? No, I'm from Cronulla. I don't even know whether you're talking about Liverpool in Sydney. I don't know where you're talking about. Okay. You're looking good but sound old. Maybe I sound mature. Maybe this is like wise words of wisdoms. I'm trying to see if there's anything. I am constantly hungry. Is this on eating this way? I'm not sure if this is eating like a raw food diet. I would say if you're coming from like a cooked diet and you're gonna eat a raw food diet or a high omega-3 diet or a fruit-based diet, just go easy. You don't have to wake up and change your whole life. Just chip away at it. And yeah, so what kind of salt do I use? So I was using Himalayan, and then when I bought the next shaker of salt, I was called to get sea salt. I'm not sure if there's much of a huge difference. I just know that it's like my whole life feels like this balancing act where too much salt and I can get dehydrated and fatigued and get set off. Too much juice, I get irritated and I start getting set off. It's like trying to keep myself in balance. But the one thing that I know is the more omega-3s that I seem to get in, the less symptoms I just have overall. And I feel like that's like, yeah, I'm so grateful for that. So, but yeah, like a big one is as soon as I move away from eating this way, I seem to flare up. And it's so easy to do because you start feeling better again. And as soon as I start feeling better again, I'm like, oh, I'll just do fruit, or I'll have just juice this morning. And then I start to get irritated again. So it's like my job is to have this, which is right now, this is how I've done it. I always think like, see how your body feels with things like avocados and histamines. But if you're someone who's getting set off with everything, I attached in the description how I eat, and because I'm really sensitive, and I would start there because as you get more in, you can get more food in. I'm actually just too scared right now to try avocados because it took me a bit to get used to this, and I want to be really well and have no flare-ups before I start putting histamine foods in. So fruits, vegetables, nuts and seeds, I'm not sure what that means. Every food spikes your insulin levels worse than others. It says, okay, here, so Comrade Whiskers said every food spikes your insulin levels. Yes, yes, it does. Some are worse than others. Staying away from frozen food and refined carbs has helped me immensely. I'm glad you find what works. This is kind of like how I guess I got to eating this way. And I just keep feeling better and better. And especially the fatigue. I was getting literally eating every meal and I was going back to bed. But please know, I have a background of literally most of my life being sick. So it was just sending me back there. So eating a way that gets me out of bed, gets me symptom free is no problem for me. Like it doesn't really matter what it is, I will do it. What is beneficial about eating this way versus eating like a fruit-based diet is I'm really satiated. Like you eat this and you've got like, because there's fats and proteins and it's salty, afterwards you just feel like, I don't know, I was always hungry I was always craving salt too on a fruit-based diet. So this is working really well. If you don't mind me asking, what are you eating? So this is red cabbage, freshly ground chia seed, and salt. And I can't have any lemon. I can't have apple cider vinegar. I could put water in it, but that sounds absolutely disgusting. Even I have my limits. I like this. And, I'll know if I put too much salt on it, it will be like too salty, and too less, I won't really want to eat it. And it does go soft from the salt because the moisture comes out of it. So I like it. I'm used to it. Chai tea is better for you than matcha. I use matcha because it is a natural antihistamine. I'm not sure. I think most teas set off Mast Cell Activation Syndrome. And yeah, and green tea lowers. I think it's quercetin in it. Quercetin's a natural antihistamine. And I'm trying to do things naturally, and it's really limited. So, yeah. So Are you eating your salad with a spoon? Yes, I am, because down the bottom, I keep tossing it. This is like ground chia, and I keep tossing it over it so it sticks. If I did a fork, all the ground chia would just fall through it. So I need more information on Mast Cell Activation Syndrome. There is a folder attached in the description of this live that has all the information you'll need. What it is, it also has raw foods which are low in histamine, high in histamine. It has what I'm eating. It has natural antihistamines. I think in the list may also have some medical ones. What you should know about Mast Cell Activation Syndrome is mast cells are in the body, and they go to where inflammation is. Bang your shoulder, get a virus, cut your foot, and that redness is literally your immune system, and mast cells go to the area and release granules. They release cytokines, prostaglandins, they release, what else? They release histamines. And people, this is a response is the proteins from things like peanuts can set people off and have allergies. Well, can you imagine when people just get set off randomly because their immune system is just over responding? And so they get things like hives, eczema, nerve pain, joint pain, runny eyes, scratchy eyes, runny nose, your throat can close up, anaphylaxis. And one day you can have an avocado and have like scratchy throat, scratchy skin, dizzy, POTS-like symptoms, terrible fatigue. And the next week you can have avocado and have no response. So it's not specific to a food or a specific protein. It's like a histamine overload in the body. And mine all started when I was 8. I'm now 43, almost 44. And I had constant problems, and it's usually on the entryways. So like the mouth into the stomach, you can get urinary tract. I've had my stomach removed. You can get it in like your sexual organs, reproductive organs, because that's an entryway. The skin, like hives, that's where it's most prominent, or you would notice like mostly where it's coming. Also, you can get it in the joints, you can get it in organs, you can get it in many places, but it's only been really recognized in the medical field for about 4 years. And many people have suffered for a long period of time. How you can actually know how histamines are affecting you, and you don't even have to be a raw vegan, is just go and talk to ChatGTP and get them to print out a list of a low histamine diet. I think it's called 360 or something, that has a list of all low histamine foods. And if you get a good response from lowering the histamines in your body, possibly. You can also speak to your doctor. You can have a blood test. The blood test isn't always accurate, and you need to have a blood test when you have no histamine response, you're doing really well, and then within 4 hours of a flare-up. And even that sometimes yields inconsistent results. So it's one of those things where you find people going on their own health journeys and trying to, do it themselves, as in like a lot of people do that. I mean, any lifestyle illness where it's food-based, diet-based, exercise, like that sort of thing, doctors aren't there to give you a pill to fix that. You have to make sure that you're having a diet and food which suits you, you're getting fresh air, you're able to lower your stress levels. You can't go to a doctor and get a pill for Mast Cell Activation Syndrome and walk out and go and get McDonald's or something. You have to look after yourself. So that's what I like to talk about. But of course, if you're having an acute flare-up, you've got to go to hospital. Or if you're really suffering, of course, go and see a doctor. But long-term, it's not going to be fixed completely. It's definitely a huge component. Do you ever feel like no food really hits the spot? Since doing this diet, no. I believe so strongly what we crave really is an indication of what the body needs. In saying that, when I did a fruit-based diet, I constantly craved vegetables and salt, and I ignored that, thinking that, you become a raw vegan and fruit is the way, and I ignored my body and got sicker. Now that I eat things that I always crave, like I never crave meat, it's always like salt or veggies. As long as I eat that, I can feel really satisfied. If I don't have enough sodium, I don't feel satisfied. And I don't think it's that I'm an addict to salt. The body needs sodium. And we as humans have evolved to rely on getting it from outside source. And I just believe it's just the way the world is. We're not living in the Garden of Eden with just fruit with no shoes outdoors and tropical fruit. I spoke about this the other day. Notice the people who are fruitarian are like living in the tropics eating dense tropical fruits. And we live here indoors with unripened watery fruits. How would that work long term? It doesn't. So it didn't work for me. It may work for some people, but since doing this, as long as I have enough sodium on my veggies, I feel completely satisfied. I've got to be careful not to go overboard or I get too dehydrated and fatigued. So that once again, it's like this balance. But I think having mast cell activation syndrome makes the outcome of that worse. So make America healthy again. Yes, 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 yes. What kind of salt did you use? Today I used sea salt. I have used Himalayan salt. I just find those work really well, but I've never, not that I've done it since I've been back on this. I remember when I first went raw, I was never afraid if I was in a restaurant situation where they gave me a salad to put salt on it. So yeah, I did answer about salt, but I don't mind answering again because it's a quick one. Have you ever tried orange juice before? No, what's an orange juice? I've never even heard of that. I'm different. So when MCAS kicks in, you have to be creative with the food you like, and that's what she's doing. Yeah, and I've seen some girls over on TikTok who don't know about raw foods, but they do. A lot of them are limited to like 14 foods, and they make the most unique. Their whole life is kind of spent, you know, dressing up different foods. One girl is only able to get down formula and oats, and she's made pancakes, she's made muesli, she makes all these different things, and it is a texture thing, and I think she can have salt and things, and I find it's like your brain will adapt. You get to a stage where you get so distressed and pulled down from being sick all the time that you're just grateful that there's something you can get down. You don't feel sick, but you also afterwards aren't constantly thinking about food. And I feel very satisfied with like veggies and salt. So, yes. So no, that looks like a lot of salt. That would be a lot of salt. That would be tons of salt. But no, that's chia ground up. And also, I always forget, because I've done this a long time, is the idea is you get the chia or flaxseed and grind it fresh. And the fresher the better, because it goes rancid. It's like magic gold, the omega-3 fatty acid. So will go rancid straight away. And if you grind it too hard, any heat, you don't want heat near it. We're having it here raw. And it's kind of turned into a gel now. Like the salt's pulled the liquid out of the cabbage and it gets sticky. I like it. I also notice the less fruit you do, over time, and I do low sugar fruits just because that's what I don't react to, is you start eating this and it starts tasting sweet. The brain's a marvelous tool. It really is. How long have I been eating healthy? 4 years. I am raw vegan for 4 years. Gave up. At the time I was so sick. I had over 60 surgeries, 7 major organs removed. At the time, I had 9 psychiatric hospital stays, 5 were acute, scheduled like 4 times. I'd had congenital diseases, mast cell activation, massive histamine issues, like POTS, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue. My liver was failing because I started drinking. Only the last 3 months though, maybe a little bit more, can't remember, from the alcohol. And then I found I got kicked out of home. I'd always had carers and I had to order my vegan food. I was vegan. My blood had stopped making proteins. There was iron deficiencies. I couldn't get infusions because my liver was failing. And I couldn't cook my food. I ate it raw and I was able to get up. I know a lot of my symptoms were gone. I was like, what? And then I cooked like just some dry roasted pumpkin or some steamed cauliflower and I'd be back in bed. And I'm like, okay, well, Sky, what are you willing to do? You've been through absolute hell. You can eat the food raw. And I did. And I just kept, within 6 weeks, I had no symptoms. But at the start, I was doing more. I had FND, a functional neurological disorder, where it displayed like a stroke. But many days I couldn't talk or couldn't say many words, or I couldn't concentrate. Some days I couldn't walk. Some days I could. I was having seizures. And so I couldn't read what I was doing. I just did it because I felt that I could get up and do things. And then every time I just basically cooked it, I couldn't get up. So I just followed that, and I did a lot of veggies like this at the start, but then when I got into the fruits, I didn't do as well. And so I'm back on this, but not with the like tomatoes and avocados and everything. So that's my journey. But yeah, it's been 4 years of doing this. Yes, so especially here, I talk a lot about raw foods because I'm a raw foodist, and I think how I ended up on this is the lowest level of histamines you're going to get are on raw veggies. You're still going to get some in fruits. There are some veggies that have it, but I just find that with mast cell activation, it seems like veggies seem to be like this neutral ground. Cooked food, processed food, fermented food, anything dried, literally as soon as it like bacteria changes on the outside, I think it makes histidine, which is a amino acid broken down into histamines in the body. Some foods do have histamines or histamine liberators. I'm sounding like I don't want to confuse people with all of this, but that, like, literally think of something being pulled out of the ground and it has the least amount of histamines. If you refrigerate something, it's like making cooked rice and you eat it one day and you're feeling okay, and the next day you eat the rice and you have symptoms. The problem with mast cell activation syndrome as well is you may not react straight after. You may react, you get histamine dumps at night. You get like a histamine overload by the time the night comes, where you've got up, you've been in an environment which has got like perfumes, it's got mold, you've become stressed, your cortisol rises, your blood sugar levels been moving up and down all day. All of these things create immune responses in the body. You've had high histamine foods, you have a hot shower, you lay down in bed, and all of a sudden you'll feel it. You'll feel like it's like a histamine dump, a histamine overload, and you don't know why. You can get heart palpitations, you can get joint pain, you may not have any scratchiness. Bloated was huge. I had this big belly up until I did this, all just histamines. Basically they're everywhere in the body, and that's why it's hard to know what, and people might think it's the last thing they had before they went to bed, because that's when they have the dump. But it's the nature of it, where it's like someone getting their gut health. It's like a full-time job to which feeds into that, because you cannot have a mast cell activation without the histamines, the pathogens or like allergens crossing the gut, skin, respiratory, urinary, reproductive systems. So if you have leaky gut, the allergens are going through the cells have this like channel where all of it is going in, and that's how it's activated. Okay, there is situations where you have viruses and things where the body's already on high alert, and afterwards it can become problematic. But then usually it's so inflamed that it then causes leaky gut. So it's why it's good to work on your gut health. But look, I really think with health, and food, you've really got to listen to how you feel. As in, if you're really struggling with like a whole lot of symptoms, really, you can keep a journal, but really think about when you felt best in your life. So for me, when I did heal myself, I was like, I never stuck to it, but every time I was put on different diets by nutritionists, naturopaths, doctors, the best one I ever did was when they said it was cooked veggies, fresh veggies and fruit, and I could have salt, herbamere, salt on it for 2 weeks. Every second night I could have any dish I wanted. This was this naturopath's diet. He found great success with it. And I always thought back that was the best I ever did. And that's a very low histamine diet, and kind of where I ended up. I suggest thinking long and hard about when you've ever felt your best in your life. I also thought about how when I was younger, the least times I was sick was when I was outdoors the most, because we get set off by these EMF frequencies as well. They create an immune response. We want to be on the earth, which is a direct current, not these alternate currents. So I thought, as a kid, did the best when I was in salt water, which has all those electrons, which like really lowers inflammation in the body. Outdoors a lot in my summer holidays, I did better. Plus I was off school, low stress. Stress is huge. Stress will set off an immune response. So, and the other was, I thought about this diet that I've been put on. It helped reassure me that the direction I was going was the right one, with the food. As in, there's got, like, I had no medications, I'd been through it all. Nothing was helping me. So, and plus a lot of times you have mast cell activation syndrome is just say, like, I take magnesium at night. It really helps me. I think that's in the description in the kit that I made, what I do take. Which is very little, because like these seeds, the delivery system is what sets us off. So as soon as you eat food, you get a leukocytosis response. The body warms up. It's like an immune response, but the body's also got to know when anything foreign comes in. But it's gonna break these things open and use them. But even, frugivores and fruit is still, the body warms up to break everything down. And if you have mast cell activation, it's like a really strong response. So you don't want to have too many things like supplements. Set a lot of people off. Herbs are like the worst for me. Fresh herbs, not so bad. Dried herbs, but once again, once you dry something, the bacteria on the outside changes and gets a higher amount of the histidine protein. And sometimes histamines, and histamine liberators are like citrus. I think alcohol's a really bad one. What's my opinion on a keto diet? So I did it raw vegan, and the only reason I did it was because I knew that raw foods worked for me, but nothing I was eating was working except when I cut out sugar. Because every time I was so inflamed that even when the blood sugar rose, I was just getting set off. And I didn't do a lot of like nuts and seeds. I did more, basically a lot of avocado and tomatoes, and they're all high histamine foods. I did better. But then I just got so reactive to everything that I ended up noticing that when I was in Hawaii last year, I did a higher omega-3 diet and I did much better. It's like looking over your life, like when you did better. And I just saw myself, out of all of the responses, this was a heavier way of eating raw foods, in my opinion, but I got less of a reaction and better over time. So I just know I did a paleo diet for a year and I did better. So I was doing fruits, nuts, seeds, and meat dish at night, sometimes 2 meat dishes a day. I did much better, but then I ended up with shingles through the eye and FND, and I couldn't get up on that diet, couldn't get up on a vegan diet. I only got up on a raw food diet. So in my opinion, this is my opinion, a raw food plant-based diet is optimal, and how you shuffle around in that is person to person, because we're frugivores. Our teeth, I said this last live, is they just match monkeys and chimps, and our digestive system. It doesn't make sense that we would then eat like something. I actually saw a meme today of sharks being carnivores with our teeth, like these teeth that look ridiculous. What are they going to do? A carnivore does not exist looking like that. So I believe the answer lies somewhere amongst plants. And in my experience, for me, it was raw food. So that's my keto take. I've never done keto any other way but with raw foods. So, did somebody say here, hit the 360? I think that's what the website's called for mast cell activation syndrome. They list all the food. But then again, here's the thing. They list all the foods, but if you go to another website, that lists all the high histamine foods, the list is different. And that is because all foods actually have histamines in them at some level, in some way, but we're looking for lower histamine foods. And also it varies. So like for me, bananas are like the ultimate worst. Really bad with bananas. I love the taste, but my throat almost closes up. I've gone off there. What I wanted to say is you can react really badly to something and the person next to you has mast cell activation, does not react at all. And that really proves how much the microbiome is in charge of epigenetics, turning genetics off and on, but how much we rely on it. That it's not set in stone. Like we can have the same similar genetics and genes, but there's something going on that's switching things off differently with different foods. It can be low histamine food and you're just like, can't do carrots, or whatever it is. That's also important to know. But I also don't see this as anything more. Like I like to always say that Like, I'm here for spiritual reasons too. And when you start isolating people to look at their own self and their own health, and you can't find the answers out there, you have to look a lot at your own life and what works for you, is very much in par with why I think we're on this planet as well. Like, it is about our self-discovery. We're not supposed to do what everyone's doing. We're supposed to evolve by working on ourselves, evolve our soul. So I also think that that kind of lines up for me on that level. So what is it? I missed that part. Oh, I don't know. I don't know when that comment was said. Someone's trying to sleep. Did your eyesight get better on raw vegan? Yeah, it did. It actually got worse again when it was like when I was having high blood sugars. So when I got into a lot of fruit and doing a lot of juice, I had blood sugar issues, high resting blood sugars on my blood test. I fixed that. My blood test is perfect now. And I had low iron. So what was it I've got? So eyesight, yes. So when I had high blood sugars, my eyesight was predominantly getting worse. It's been getting better again now, or back to normal. Also, I notice if I'm dehydrated, my eyesight, especially night sight, is terrible. So it really shows that this diet being really hydrating helps on that level as well. So there's a lot of comments here where I'm just like, I don't know what people are talking about. Am I vegetarian? Am I veggie train? Are you a veggie train? Look, I'm a vegan. So I was vegan before I went raw vegan. I went vegan after I'd been paleo and I was just in hospital. I'd had FND, a functional neurological disorder. I couldn't walk or talk. Ended up in a hospital having to relearn to do things like butter your toast, tie your shoes, sit up. And I was really like, you're stuck with your own thoughts. Plus I've been sick most of my life. So I had a lot of PTSD and I was like, how have I ever eaten other things, like other living things? I don't have a right. I'm like helpless and they're not even eating me. Like what, like I can't. So I got them to bring me vegan food in hospitals and when I get out, when I'm back in. And like when I got to private hospitals, I've always said that the food there, vegan, is incredible. They're grilling fresh tofu for lunch with fresh salads and herbs and vegetable ragouts with tofu and always like looked after me. Plus I had my own nutritionist in private hospitals and doctors, but my blood work was just getting worse. And then when I went raw, I wasn't even trying to fix my anemia or my liver. I just wanted to like be out of bed, and I healed everything by myself with no supplements within a year. And then it went back down when I started ignoring what my body wanted of me. Because you can get obviously everything. The doctors were blown away when I healed myself with anemia because I'm missing the part of my stomach which absorbs iron. So let me see if I can get some. I don't know who Swaggy is, but hi. Hi, India. Yes, Creative Heart said here, in the city, the fruit generally are not great. Yeah, and it's like winter, although I'm in Cairns, so that's why I jumped on here to talk about fruit, because up here it's warm, like really hot. There's gonna be like, I mean, I think it's like 25, 27 today, but it can get up to like 37 degrees in that winter here. So I'm back pulled towards the fruit, but I could see my skin getting red again. I was doing fruit all morning, whereas I usually do, I've already had some like a small omega-3 meal. Basically, the more the omega-3 I do, the better I do. But yes, it's usually in Sydney. I mean, I still think I get pretty good produce, but it's not the same as being out in the sun, in the tropics with dense, rich tropical fruit like durians and mamey sapote and jackfruit, and then maybe you need some hydration, but you're back to density, like apples, bananas, oranges, kiwi fruits, berries, and you're indoors, you're not even grounded. Like that's just asking for instability. No wonder, it is like feeling so electric, you're not stable when you eat all of that fruit. And I get when people are really sick and they have to flush their body, like if you've got like stage 4 or something, is I get that people do something extreme, but really long term, you're better off chipping away at what your long-term diet looks like, or at least you're like projecting what it's going to look like. It will change, and feeling satisfied. Yeah, so this Ryan Morris has said, well, I guess if you're eating fruit and veg, you're gonna be taking in a lot of moisture, and that's gonna use up your minerals and electrolytes. What I feel because this looks really dry, right? Compared to eating fruit, like chia and flaxseed. What feels like happens is because the way that omega-3s work. So omega-3s, there's like phospholipids that cover the outside of cells, and it's fats and phosphorus right on the outside. So to build a cell, you can build it from omega-6 or omega-3, and the body will be lazy and go down the omega-6 pathway every time because we give it omega-6 in abundance, as in like cooked meats, barbecues, even raw nuts and avocados high in omega-6. Omega-3, if you eat only chia and flax, you're really tipping the scale. So you're tipping the scale from the body having an abundance, overload of omega-6 to high amounts of omega-3 and much lower of omega-6. So when you build the cells of a system, from cells of the body from omega-3s, is the outside becomes or like the gel. It's exactly like the gel or fluid. And things that need to go in seem to go straight through and come out the anti-inflammatory pathway. There's all proteins on the outside and gates that let in electrolytes and minerals like calcium channels, there's sodium channels, potassium, sodium channels, and this all dictates your health. Plus, you want to build the cells of the brain, especially the myelin sheath on nerves from this. It's like, I feel even like my limbs are like, does anyone know what's his name? Gumby. Is that like that little thing that was made out of plasticine? You feel like your whole body is just springy. And before, I felt exactly like it's described, that when you build the cells of your body from omega-6, it gets rigid, like in structure, and then you're like stiff and you're like, and this makes you like limber. But back to the hydration, is it feels like any liquid I drink now or take in from fruit gets trapped. The cells aren't giving away so much fluid, which is electrolyte imbalance essentially, because every time you have liquids, your body's got to get it out with the kidneys, and the kidneys and adrenals use salt like constantly to get water out. And a lot of raw vegans, including myself, I didn't have salt for 2 years and then wondered why I ended up with an electrolyte imbalance. I'm flushing, like all I'm doing is eating water, but I'm not replenishing with all the electrolytes. I also noticed when I healed myself, what my body craves and what my body stays healthy on is mineral dense food. And unfortunately, fruits don't seem to have as much minerals as veggies. I mean, look at fruit, veggies, that structure is just like those crystalline mineral structures. It's just in a more digestible form. Like if you break open a carrot and you get those like that rigid, it's all minerals deposits, like it's deposited in like a live living source. And we as humans are attracted to it. It's like we know what mineral sequence we need. Like it's in us. That's what I was so amazed. Like when I was at rock bottom, my brain barely worked. Is my body still knew exactly what it was attracted to and what was going to fix it. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. I mean, even doctors who have been at university and been professors their whole life could not fix me. Yet my broken down body seemed to know all these profiles that it needed to get, mineral profiles from mostly veggies, a little bit of fruit, but mostly veggies. I think that's amazing. So I love like the electrolyte minerals. But what I wanted to say is, it seems like eating omega-3 high diet is the cells just hold on to hydration a lot better. But that's because the signaling on the outside of the cell is so much better. Everything going in and out is doing its job. We've become this society which has tipped the scale into having the wrong fat and building our cells, and then having this constant inflammatory response no matter what. And I tend to share videos on what comes to me intuitively. I tend to share information what comes to me intuitively, or I just happen to pass some information. Any video I watch on omega-3 pathways, it's endless what omega-3s does to deflame a body. There's like, the descriptions can be quite long and biochemically very long, but the end result is always lower inflammation in every system, in any pathway, in any way this fat is used. So for now, I have no problem eating this way. My plan is eventually I have like a lowered inflammation response so I can get other nutrients in. But my base will most likely always include a lot of chia and flax. So yeah. Botox alert. Is that what you think? when all I do is eat hydration and fruit. So yes, you can email me. It's rawsky@gmail.com. So seizures are terrible. I had those temporarily from gabapentin. Is that what? Oh, sorry, gabapentin. Is that the same as gabapentin? I was on so many medications, so you can throw medication at me. I've probably been on it. That gabapentin, if that's what you're talking about. Oh my God, I had the work. I could be on massive doses of opioids because I was in chronic pain. 4 years. I had Botox injected in my spine. I had, what else do I have? Botox in the hip, local anesthetic in the spine, ketamine and cardiac units for pain. But whenever they tried for the nerve pain, the gabapentin or pregabalin, oh my God, I couldn't walk straight. But yes, seizures are terrible because you lose control of the body. So I'm currently on high fruit, and I've been thinking of shifting to your way of eating since I still struggle with chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia at times. So if anyone's going to go from a high fruit diet onto this diet, please know, do it slowly and don't think that you're going to feel the same, but you do end up feeling better, because it's like this vibrational energy, you could say drop, but you come through this with just being able to assimilate and be in the world without all the problems. It's a weird thing to do. So yeah. Oh, I'm getting lots of compliments, so thank you. I got off, yeah, those, look, I will tell you something, and this is the reason having mast cell activation syndrome, that my body does, I don't take any medications, but did better when it was doing, like, things like Valium, all these addictive drugs, they essentially are mimicking something your body already does. That's why they become addictive, because our body stops making it itself because we're taking it. And all of these, what I call workaround drugs, like Neurontin, gabapentin, things like SSRIs, absolute nightmare for someone with mast cell activation syndrome, because it's so foreign to the body, and then they're the worst to come off too. Anyway, I've digressed. That's another live. So real extra virgin olive oil definitely needs to be in everybody's life. So olive oil is high in omega-6. So I used, and I did a lot of recipes that were really yum. I'm staying away from recipes right now while I'm being really simple until I don't have any inflammatory issues, is replacing it with flaxseed oil. It's definitely a taste shift, but you're having a higher amount of omega-3 at 3, not 6. But yes, there are many benefits to all foods that have, like lots of foods that have omega-6 in them. It's just that some people are really sensitive and they need an extra protective hug from omega-3s. So what's considered leaky gut? So leaky gut is essentially, there's like a barrier. I'm trying to think what it's called right now. It's called the epidermal layer. I'm pretty sure that's it, which is throughout the whole body. And it's supposed to be protective. And then on top of that is a healthy microbiome. So usually what happens first off is the microbiome becomes out of balance and sick. And then what happens next is that layer kind of breaks down because you're not getting, essentially comes to nutrient levels. You're not getting the nutrients to build the gut. So the body will always send nutrients to like the heart and the liver and the lungs, because without them, without the breathing, you're not going to live. So everything that you don't really need starts to suffer, like brain fog, sluggishness, bloating, because you usually get like a break. So there's cells that are lined up in the gut. There's cells that are lined up everywhere in the body, but they're nicely like stacked, right? And then in between them is where electrolytes usually travel. And it's like a, what is it called? I can't think right now. It's more of a fluid layer in between these cells. And what happens is these cells break apart, and this layer starts to allow like big parts of food and the wrong bacteria. And then this being out of balance causes the gut to get out of balance even more. And you literally start eating and feeding while you're feeding like in here. So it's like, to heal leaky gut, it's like a full-time job. There is no like full-time job. You have to think about all your actions, lowering stress, eating really low inflammatory foods, letting the gut have a rest. And basically everything comes down to not stressing it out, right? But that leaky gut, and people talk about leaky brain, and essentially having like leaky lungs is how people get like anaphylaxis from like allergens and mast cell activation. So not a true allergy you're born with, but a histamine overload is like leaky lungs or leaky, people get, I had terrible bladder problems. It's like there as well. So it's basically like a weakness, but the gut, we have to eat. So it's a constant inflammation. Like, it's not like, you know, when someone breaks a limb and the doctor says just rest the limb for a few weeks and it annoys you, but you rest it. You can't, you know, you can't. This is the thing also about fasting is I've noticed, and I can tell you my only fasting story. I have noticed a common theme, what happened to me as well, is it's about 10 months after that all the symptoms come back and someone will fast again, like water fast, long-term water fast. And that's because we go back, we default to old patterns. So it's really important to keep, even if you fast, to keep working on repairing these patterns or behaviors. Like, that's the funny thing is even when you get onto raw foods, you have this tendency to start doing things you used to do when you ate a different way. They're like patterns that we have to work on and break. So my only fasting story was when they took my stomach and duodenum and top of intestines out. First off, they tried to like save it by cutting it open and cauterizing both sides, and that was about a month I didn't eat. Then I ate for I think about a few days, and I vomited blood back under again. They tried to cauterize, I think it was like 2 weeks, couldn't eat. Started to eat again. They said, if you vomit blood, we're taking these organs out. Vomiting blood. Took the organs out. So I fasted all up a lot of the time, not even liquids. They gave me liquid, not even any IV food, nothing, because they said it'd be too much on my heart. My heart was already going through enough. So they gave me hydration and obviously painkillers. But what I noticed coming out of that is the chronic pain and pelvic pain and congenital disease that I've been dealing with, including the chronic fatigue, was lower or almost switched off for about 10 months. But during that 10 months, I'm doing what I've always done. But during that time, I had a perfectly flat stomach. And then eventually all the old patterns come back where you start getting bloated, foggy head. But in my case, I had this severe chronic pain, ended up on a walking stick in bed, had to have all these surgeries and Botox in the spine, and it was not very pleasant until I had a hysterectomy. But this is very common because I'm a health coach. And it's very common that I see this pattern, that there's like a 10-month period, because you fast, you wipe all the bacteria in your body. And also if you've got leaky gut, the gut will essentially heal. And now you see doctors say that all disease starts in the gut. So if you water fast, almost anything will just go away, because you literally wipe out all the bacteria, and then you usually introduce things slowly. But also, as soon as you're eating, you're not eating as much. And the load, your body can assimilate the load because it's also gone through autophagy. But essentially the one thing humans do, and they don't even know they're doing it, is go back to what they know and they've done for the last 40 years. So, have you ever been lonely? So I don't know if that's a question since being raw, but it's an interesting case because I spent years in a bed. Like, when I say years, so I got sick when I was 8, and as a kid I spent like 2-3 years a lot of the time in bed. And then I got well and up for about 4 years, and then by the time I'm 16, I was literally just constantly declined. I would do things with friends, but back in bed. That's how it got worse until you're just not getting out of bed. I didn't get out of bed for like 10 years, besides going to hospitals, specialists, doctors, occasional wedding, which I was so medicated for and had my walking stick for. So answering that's hard, because you almost evolve being sick that young, and especially like I was sick young, but then I got well, but from my teens, it's all I've known. So I kind of like really enjoy being alone. I do love being around people. I do love talking, so I don't know why I like being alone so much. But it's also like when you go on this raw food journey, is you start to notice how many things affect you, and you don't want people around you all the time because you've got no buffers. There's no like, you don't drink, you don't eat stimulating food, you're not drawn to very stimulating like shows anymore. So there's no like if something goes wrong, getting dopamine somewhere else. You are faced with what you're faced with. So I'm very selective how long I spend around people, and who I let in. So I'm not wondering if I'm the best person to answer that, but I guess I'm the best person to answer that you can be alone and still be happy. Maybe that's why I'm always happy. I don't know. You must be an AOL email. So I'm rawsky@gmail.com. I'm just Gmail. I signed up at Gmail. So it's ROARSKYE. Yeah. So How do you cope with the negative chat so well? I don't really notice it. I don't really notice. I kind of think it's funny, like, because you notice this. I actually am really drawn in when someone asks like a really a question that they want to know information on, which will really help them. I kind of zone in. Otherwise, there's just like a whole lot of nonsense going on, like blah blah blah. But I have been told a lot of the time, a lot of the reason people don't get online and share a lot is the chat really hurts, like affects them. For me, it doesn't. I always like to look at people, like even when they say something negative or that I take offense to, that how can I reach this person with where they're at? Like even if they're literally blasting me, like where are they coming from? And how do I say why I've said what I've said if something's offended someone? So, you know, you might see someone say, you look weak, you need to be a carnivore or something like that. And I'm just simply come from truth and say, it's a lot about living in my truth, I think, as well, is in like, I've tried all diets. It's like I'm near death or I eat this way, and explain it. Because I think that information may not even change them right now, but maybe when they're at rock bottom, they'll remember a girl online who said something. And remember, I've been all these people, maybe not that say really random things. Most of the time, it's the people that come in and say something that's probably really tried to hurt me or defensive, that maybe something I've said has moved something in them. But what you should know about me is what you see is what you get. I sit in my truth, as in like, you know, I even share when things aren't going well. You know, you guys see me on here in my pajamas. You see me, especially more so on TikTok or Instagram, like on my story. But you will see me like in all different levels. You'll see me dressed up and happy, which isn't as much anymore. But when you sit in your truth, people can't really hurt you, because even if they do say like, that's stupid what you're saying, you're like, I'm only telling you what I feel. Like, I'm only telling you what I feel. You know, you don't have to agree with it. It doesn't change how I feel. That's how I felt. Yeah, I get told I'm really happy a lot. And I don't know, I guess I've always been this way. Though I am getting very cold right now. I think I'm blasting the air conditioning on. But yeah, and also when I first started doing this, like I'm online a lot now. When I first started, I didn't start like this. And I don't know whether anyone does. I like got well 4 years ago and was so blown away with what I achieved so quickly that I wanted, and my salads look so pretty, I would post a picture. And when I'd post one picture on Instagram, I would literally check every comment. I'd check, not that there was that many, every person who liked it. I would like reassess it, reread what I wrote in the description. I think that's how you start. Like really like, should I have done that? Maybe I delete it, do it again. Man, now I can throw out 3 reels a day and someone comments on something and that can't really offend me because I've already posted 10 more things. When you post a lot, you also the ability someone has to affect you is a lot lower because you've got other posts going on where you've got a lot coming in. So it's also humans, I don't know whether you know this, but humans actually can't detect something unless there's a 10% variant. So if you go to a shop and there's a chocolate bar, which in one shop is $10 and in the next shop is $3. Sorry, I say $3. So, okay, one shop this chocolate is $10, the next shop it's $5, okay? Now, people will be like up in arms, okay, that's problematic. Now you're driving to another shopping center and you're buying a tire, and there's a tire that's $300, or there's a tire that's $311 in the next shop. More than likely, you're not gonna walk back to pay $10 less. You may, but humans, you really don't seem to be so bothered. But if there's I said $10, but if it's $5, so let's say there's a $5 variance from shop to shop on a tire and a $5 variance on chocolate, because the amount is like 50% on the chocolate, us as humans notice that and we act differently based more on like that sort of variance, more so than that amount. Like if it's just $5 of a tire, you go, whatever, people don't care as much. So it's like, there's like that, once you start putting out so much content, is most of what I get back is all positive. But if you're only posting now and then, and you're sitting and you kind of like everything hinges on one post, you can get upset. So yeah, I get very, lots of positivity, which is lovely. And I kind of zoom in on people who are positive with me. And also you should know, as a content creator, is I feel just as connected to regular people who show up for my lives and regular people that comment. Sometimes I even feel closer to them than I do in my community of like other people who do like content creation. Who I talk to often. So don't ever think that just because you're not in front of a camera that you don't make an influence. But do know that my brain just filters out people saying weird things because it doesn't connect with me at all. Almost like a waste of their energy. So it's interesting to reflect on when you felt best in your life and what you were eating at the time. Yeah, the reason I think this, I need to turn off this air conditioning before, like in Queensland. I turned into an icicle. Okay, I think I did that. When I healed myself, I couldn't read about what I was doing. I couldn't study what I was doing, which is what I always tried to do in my life. All I could do, and because I had a lot of PTSD, is keep remembering things that any time, because no medications, if I couldn't go back to hospital, I didn't have my parents, carers supporting me. Like I only had myself, and I kept thinking, all you've got to do is start with where you felt the best. All you've got to do is start where you felt the best. That's all you have now, Sky. The other thing I always bring up is don't ever think you don't have an impact on people. So growing up, my dad would get up really early every single day. He still does. And go swimming or do exercise. He would then have like a big bowl of like rolled oats and like raw granola and coconut yogurt and soy milk would be his breakfast in summer. It'd be oats in winter. Then he'd have, his lunch would just be salad sandwiches. He'd run at lunchtime. And my dad did all this, and I lived my life parallel to him, but never lived like that. But at rock bottom, I started to think, well, how come there's people that are well like my dad? You know, I have his genes. Why is he so well, but I'm not well? And I started to think about what he did, and he's eating a lot of raw, because this is when I started eating the raw food. I couldn't read. So I started thinking about these things, and my dad was majority of the time, and he's aged a lot better than most people his age. And he's just always looked after himself. He had fresh juice every morning too. He'd get up every day and squeeze fresh orange and grapefruit juice. So that's something I would tell people if you are at rock bottom or you're stuck with your health, is look at any times in your life that you've done well, or anyone in your family has had more exceptional health and what they've done. Because you are very closely linked, and you can turn off and on genes with epigenetics and the food, the microbiome. So, thank you. You're a wealth of knowledge. I feel like my sister always says to me, my sister and I might look alike, but we're not alike. Like, she's like an English person. I was like a science and maths person. She always says I'm like the little boy in Jerry Maguire. You know, the one that goes, do you know my next door neighbor's head? Oh no, wait, do you know the human head weighs 8 pounds? Do you know my next door neighbor has a rabbit? She thinks that I'm like, I have all this knowledge. She's like listening to him. So, tips for people who only have time for fast food. I think that when you eat healthy, this is what I did when I got myself well, is I knew that if I even knew that foods just that simple could heal me, I wouldn't stay on the lifestyle. This is definitely not a long-term thing. I'm usually always doing recipes. I would suggest starting where you're at. So if you are someone who's going through a lot of drive-through a lot, is maybe you order, 2 hamburgers. This is what you order when you go. 2 hamburgers, some chips, and a Coke. A Pepsi, I'm not sure what you call it. I would start by swapping out what you're doing already, because I studied psychology for 5 years. We work so much better using brain schemas that are set up than we do trying to wipe out what we already are. So like, still go through the drive-through, but the next time you go through is maybe swap the chips for a salad. That's the first step. Like, I just think there is so much, unless you're really, really sick and you have to change your lifestyle quickly, or get 1 hamburger, a side of veg, your favorite sauce on top of the veggies, spice your food. I swear to God, the brain gets so stimulated by spice. Like, it's really how I survived. I was coming from vaping, smoking, drinking, all those medications. And I have like an ADHD brain where I love to be stimulated. I was like, bring on the chili with every meal, play around with different spices. Like, start with where you're at and what you can do, because otherwise it's so overwhelming to change and then think you have to do that forever. You usually like don't end up continuing down that path. You self-destruct. What is the word I'm trying to think of the word here. You aren't doing yourself any favors. You end up going back to what you're doing, basically. So I think you start with where you're at, and that is, do your routines. Usually, just say you usually bring leftover mac and cheese. I think that's the thing. Is start putting some veggies in the mac and cheese and swap out some of the noodles you're using for maybe like brown rice noodles, not the whole thing. Every time your body starts feeling pain, it wants to be adverse to pain. That's how we're set up as humans. It will not continue down a pain path. So your job is to keep it in pleasure. And so that's why I never think these like quick fixes are the way, unless you're really sick, because a lot of what I'm talking about here with this mast cell and what I'm doing is to raw vegans or people who are high plant-based, who have tried different things and want results. But if you're trying to start to better your health, you're better off just don't put yourself into pain, keep yourself in pleasure. Plus, by doing things this way, you learn tools. So you won't always be perfect, and just say you start going backwards, you'll know to put more veggies in your mac and cheese. Like, just say you usually, I don't know, mac and cheese. Sweet potato is beautiful. Make a batch of like roasted sweet potato on the weekend and keep it in the fridge and just pop it in some of your meals. Like, it doesn't have, I swear that's like, if you look at the people I watch a lot of people online who become successful in where they want to get to with weight goals, health goals, not necessarily even vegan, but there's like the pattern I see is consistency. And what I see these people consistently do is set up a lifestyle which they love. So they know what they're eating at takeaway shops. They know how to bring or maneuver what they're going to do at friends' houses and social events. That's what you've got to master. Your brain is going to go backwards, not when you're sitting in your home. It's going to go backwards when you walk outside in the morning and everyone's eating bacon and egg rolls and coffee, and then you walk past the bread shop, and then that's all the fall downs. It's like, well, instead of going to the bread shop and getting a cake, I'm going to get some of my favorite fresh loaf and look, I'm a vegan, but maple syrup on it, or honey, or wherever you're at. You've got to start where you're at, because that's the only way. That's one of the biggest things I knew would be my failure, is every time a doctor or a nutritionist or whatever thought that they were going to help me with a diet, is they're literally taking me from like a not healthy diet and think that forever I'm just going to eat vegetables. Where I evolved to eating a raw food diet from paleo into vegan. So paleo for a year, and that was a huge shift. And then into vegan, another shift for 2 years, and then raw. And there's an evolution of raw. And I take great pride in that, what I accomplished, because all that work gave me tools to how I stay healthy. And the biggest consistency is that there's no beating these patterns that were built as kids or in childhood. And we're not supposed to sit at a really high level of like lack and pain and think that we're bad. We're supposed to live. Like, there's so much, like, yeah, it's like the one thing, all these people who reach the goal that they want to reach with whatever they're doing, they've set up a lifestyle which they love in every situation. So, whoa, you look exotic, like Pamela Anderson and Whoopi Goldberg. I don't even know what that means. That is like a crossover right there. So someone said steak is raw food. I am saying here that plant-based raw foods, like a raw vegan. So should we not eat meat and fish? I'm very much here I don't think it's a food that humans are supposed to eat, but I'm not here to judge someone on their evolution of their journey. I have not, like, when I have eaten a paleo vegan or raw vegan diet, how I feel on raw foods is like electric. It's unbelievable. It's not just about health, it's about clarity, it's about how I feel about myself. I'm energized. I didn't just heal disease, I thrive. But I'm not here to say that as you evolve up into eating a lighter and cleaner and things that are better for you, so you continue to feel better, that wherever you're at now, that doesn't involve that. And if you stripped all that away, you'd never get to where you want to get. That's like a huge thing, I think, is own where you're at and don't think of the next step. So don't be paleo obsessing that you want to be a raw vegan. Do paleo thinking you want to be more plant-based. Like you just want to keep including more plants, because I feel like, once again, the only thing which is stopping people is pain. As soon as you put yourself into pain, the brain's job is to stop you from going back there. So if you hate what you're doing every single day, you will eventually not keep doing that, because that's how the brain works. We're not supposed to be in pain. So you're better off to do it slowly, but don't obsess over like how far you want to get. Just keep bettering yourself. If you've eaten a huge amount of plants, even if you are having some meat, you would know you feel better than having meat and like lots of like, I don't know, processed side meals, which essentially were vegetables originally, but I don't know, they've been turned into something else. People know. It's like when I got myself well, I knew that plants were going to do something better for me than anything else I put in my body. It's kind of common knowledge. Like even at rock bottom, like it makes sense. Like they're bright, they're vibrant. Even when you cook them, they look different. Like they look limp and dull and grey and soggy. And then when they're not, they look bright and vibrant and pretty and like colourful. And, so I look good as a German. I'm Australian. Plants have a nervous system too, so you're hurting the plant. No, they don't have a nervous system. Plants don't have a nervous system. I don't know what you're talking about. They don't have nerves. So, yeah, so that's not true. But I do believe there's like a vibrational energy to nature. But I also feel like I have this like, I don't know, sync with plants where they know they're going to become something more. And that's essentially why frugivores would eat fruit, because the fruit is not, you're not really hurting the plant, right? And the plant will continue to grow because the fruit, the seed, it protects and gives nourishment to the seed, but it's also bright, and it's attracting humans and animals. So they eat the seed, they don't digest the seed, they poop it out, and their little baby plant grows somewhere else. But in saying that, what I think has happened and why like chimpanzees and apes and they all eat nuts and seeds and greens and fruit is just the planet is very polluted and we're very disconnected from the earth. We're not spending a lot of time on the earth where we've got a balanced electrical system. We're really kind of rebalancing. You don't stand on the earth for a while and under a microscope, our blood is stuck together. The red blood cells start to stick together. And what crosses into the cells is what these gates, these channels, electrolytes once again, start opening and closing at the wrong time. An anaesthetist did studies. Someone told him about grounding. He didn't believe it, but he's done all of this research and journal articles, and he's healed so many things by putting people with things like arthritis, all these chronic diseases. They're not changing their diet, just putting them on grounding mats. So when we talk about like hurting plants, I think it's just the way that that we've evolved. I feel like I'm hurting this planet less. I try and leave the littlest footprint I can. It doesn't make more sense to pull out a plant or kill a cow. Like, come on. You got to then peel out the plant to feed the cow, and then you're going to eat the cow. Hopefully, I'm about leaving the smallest footprint I can. That's kind of how I maneuver. So, I am very close to New Zealand. I don't know what that means. How close? Where are you? I thought Australia was close. So I followed Dr. Morse for years, and he really thinks fruits are optimal even over veggies for healing. So I'm always questioning things. I agree. I followed Dr. Morse. I was like, Dr. Morse was the only person I let into my voice, into my head, because it made sense that I went raw vegan. So I went paleo vegan, and I wasn't really thinking about this like rising in consciousness until I got onto raw foods, and I let go of nuts and seeds, and I let go of salt and pepper, and I let go of spices, and then I let go of even greens, and it was just all fruit. And then I ended up with a whole lot of problems. And what I think, and I know he doesn't even eat all fruit, is that this planet is just, everything's in density levels, right? And if you start going too light or too dense, you don't survive. You have to meet the planet around its vibrational level. And I think it's good to know. What I think about raw foods is know the power of fruit, but know the power of greens, know the power of nuts, know the power of seeds. This could be a song of fermented foods and seaweeds. I don't know, maybe I've got too much raw food going. But the more power you know in the food, the more confident you are doing raw. I've done keto, I've done high greens with all the green juices, I've done high fruit, I've done now veggies and seeds, and they all have their benefits, but the best I've ever felt was doing fruits until I didn't. And I hear this a lot, and I just think it's like, I always think Mother Earth gives us, each of us, this window to flush our system out, like that we can do just fruits, and then we have to find a bit of balance to live our dreams. So, Australian women are always annoying. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. We probably are. I think that Australians are a bit different. We talk different too. So, vegans kill more animals than meat eaters. Yeah, no, this is outdated science. It's not actually true, because I don't know the statistics, but plant-based podcast who I've interviewed on this channel, he knows the statistics. He's a professor. And to feed one cow, you have to wipe out so much more than just little me, and that kills more animals than it does. So you're already killing animals to feed the cow, then you've got to feed the cow, plus you've got to pay the person to raise it, slaughter it, then move it into whatever it's going to. Sorry. So no, that's not right at all. That's just wrong. Do a backflip. See, there's things like you kind of go, why do people say things like that? Maybe they're bots. I don't know. Is this a raw food vegan channel? Yes, but not strictly raw food. It's like plant-based, high plant-based channel. Yeah, so I want to talk on this just because I think, so C-Wag has said, India vegan cooking has practiced for 5,000 years. So when I got myself well, I was like, what else did I get wrong? All these doctors were paid for and they couldn't get me well. I'm getting me well. I really didn't want to go back to a doctor, but I get a blood test once a year. Plus I broke my toe, so I go to a doctor, and I had a bout of shingles. And I just went to a medical center, and I just happened to walk in, and there was this older gentleman who was Indian. And I was really not wanting to say, even though you could see all my old blood tests and all the medications I used to be on, I'm a raw vegan. I didn't feel like being judged. Anyway, he's like, I know raw food. I try and eat as much raw food as I can. And that was so nice because I felt really validated. He really supports me in what I does. He literally thinks I can just I don't need anything except x-rays and stuff when you break a toe. And I had to have a moon boot put on and mobilize it because it started to displace because I kept running. But that was really cool. So it's definitely they're amazing things that people have done and do for their bodies and cultures have learnt. Am I vegan? Yes. So I went vegan in hospital before I went raw vegan. So I went vegan after I realized even me being so sick and helpless, nothing ever ate me. And I think what brought it on was when I was doing paleo, I was eating a lot of raw nuts, seeds and fruit. And I think when you start to do that, you start to awaken. And I would refuse or tried very hard. I'm sure there's a few things that slipped in here and there, but to eat vegan when I was in hospital for 2 years, and then I'd come out and mum would make me vegan food, and that's how I found raw vegan, because I was a vegan and I'd order my food, and when I'd eat it raw all day, I'd get up, I think for a few days, because I was so sick I couldn't cook it, but 100%. But I will say I couldn't really love animals like I love them now until I went raw, because I was making, like, I was sick. Like, what I'm no good for the planet drinking and vaping. And yes, I am eating vegan food, not always the healthiest vegan food, but the more medications you're on, all medications are tested on animals. So all these people who are like, I'm going to kill myself with bad vegan food, I don't think that's the way to go. It is, what I believe veganism is this act of self-love as an animal myself, which can then spread to all the other animals. Like, I just don't think you can just narrow in on just food and be like, it's definitely like a step, but you have to, I always like to think of the bigger picture. What is the impact here? Like, because everything is part of like this Mother Earth consciousness vibration, like the animals, the plants, the trees, all of it. Every decision I make, I try and think, how do I have an impact which makes me feel fulfilled and happy, and I can give to this planet, but also not keep taking. And for me, veganism falls into that. Like, I can't, like, the impact I have on the earth being like raw is like, I can do these lives, I can help other people, I can get up, I can exercise, I can learn more, I can appreciate animals. When you're sick, I couldn't even be outside with them. So I like to think like that what I'm doing can keep bettering everything. So I remind someone, I'm not even going to say, is that what that says? Plants have feelings. I think you guys have to listen to what I'm saying and not keep repeating yourselves. We've been down the plant. I do believe plants know vibrations. We've been down this route. I eat beef, keep going. Okay, someone's just passing through. Here, how long have you been a raw vegan food eater? 4 years. What's omega-3 foods? So connected in the description. Oh, haven't actually talked about what omega-3 foods are. I kind of have. Chia, when you're raw vegan, it's essentially chia and flax. I know a lot of people say purslane has high omega-3s, but you've really got to dry that and then put it into things. You can eat it raw, but you're going to get much more from the chia and flax seeds. But if you want to see what I'm eating, in the description is like a kit. What about mushrooms? I eat mushrooms. I love mushrooms. I didn't eat them for years as a raw vegan. Mushrooms share like 50% of DNA with humans. So they're quite, and some people believe they've evolved with humans, like on parallel, and help our consciousness. I did say in the last live how they actually say that people who do microdosing on mushrooms, their whole brain shuts down and starts to light up new pathways. And those pathways can stay for months, years, weeks, sometimes forever. And that it's like part of our evolution is mushrooms. I stopped eating them, and because once again, back to this fruit thing that you're supposed to like evolve and eat lighter. And I don't think I ever wanted to be breatharian, but it made sense as like a frugivore that you just eat fruit, and mushrooms weren't that. But once again, if you look to the wild and you look to nature, most frugivores don't just eat fruit, including, like, I assume that, when they're sodium deficient, they lick salt off the wall or off a rock, or they'll eat something out of their, what they're supposed to eat if they need a nutrient. So, they might find, insects, they'll need something from that, but most of the time they eat their species-specific diet. But so mushrooms, I didn't think fell into that, but now I love them. Lots of vitamin D. If you put them out in the sun for even an hour before you eat them, it increases the vitamin D by 500%. And we all need vitamin D. We need, especially our metabolisms, everything, iron absorption. The body needs vitamin D. As much as we talk about magnesium, it also needs lots of vitamins and nutrients. So I try to think of the raw food diet is the way you'll survive on it is knowing all that's out there and then doing what you're drawn to. So mushroom, everything grows from flesh. Mushrooms grow from flesh. Everything does. Everything grows from things that were rotten. It's a cycle of life. You guys out there need to find the more positive things. You can't keep focusing on things that are negative. You'll tear yourself down, not just on this live, but like in life. So I work for a transportation here in Portland, Oregon, and we fix something, we say, yeah, it's better. Do you know, so mushrooms are really intelligent. Hey, in Japan, the railway system there was built from fungus. They got like little bits of like food or something and put them on where the stations are, and got the fungus to plan out the quickest route, and that's how the Japanese built their railways. See, look to nature, guys. There's a lot going on here. All right, I think that's it. There's a lot of questions going on. Maybe, oh, here we go. People swear by water fasting. Maybe I've probably got questions going on. Yeah, so here, did you become atrophied by being in bed for so long? Yes. Have you seen the photo of me where I'm 37 kilograms? I'm now like 58 kilograms. I'm still like, I'm a size 8, which is really small in Australia. It's probably like a 2 in America. Yet I was 20 kilos lighter. My whole body wasted away. I couldn't even hold myself up. Atrophy, whenever I've gotten sick again, happens so quickly. That's why I'm always like running and walking and doing Pilates now, because when something does come over me, if you're strong, you just heal so much faster. But yeah, muscle atrophy does. I'll try and have a look through these quickly. Oh, someone's Creative Heart said, you have such a great outlook, although you've been through a lot. So yes, I think that's important. Did you know humans are the only... I did not know that. I love the information like this. So did you know that humans are the only animals that enjoy spicy foods? I wonder if that's to do with our consciousness, because humans have this other layer of like consciousness and empathy and this connectedness, that it plays into like just, I don't know, dopamine or something. Because it makes sense. Like little kids don't, or I sometimes think that as we get older, you know how they like, you know, your palate matures. I actually think that our need as animals requires spice and bitter greens. Like, you know, like little kids, they literally eat like, I know what my nieces eat. It's not much. It's like bread with Vegemite or like pasta with sauce. That's like, if you give them spice or greens, they're like, no. But like, I feel like as we get older, I know they say like you mature, but I wonder how much the body is tapping into healing, and we just don't know it. Like that we need the spices. We say it's for dopamine, but that we actually are stimulating different organs in the background that are just not working in par anymore. Because otherwise, why else would that happen? Or we get so bored, like because of the way we are, like so I say bored, so numb in the way that the world's set up. We need stimulation, and we found it in pain, because it is a pain response, right? Not all of them. Yeah, well, essentially the level of spice, it's more than likely accompanied by something. So when we say spice, it's a heat, but we interpret the heat with like, you know, like Ethiopian Berber spice, or like barbecue spice. That's really just got other notes of like citric acid usually, or like so let's just say citrus, or sweetness that accompanies it. But we're really talking about like pain here, hey? I like information like that. Thank you. You can tell why I love studying psychology, because I just love all those sort of things. A whole lot of information. Ma'am, I have good gut abnormal. Go on. So if somebody, the only thing, so with gut health, someone's saying here they struggle to do an enema. I don't know what your diet is like. Like the first thing with any food, with any ailment, especially digestive, is you've got to look at what you're eating. And I don't have the answer for everybody, but that sounds like it's gotten pretty bad. You should be the moderator. You should, I don't know, can you have a moderator? You can kick people out. A lot of people, I don't know what they mean. There's like lots of people who are saying like they've got genuine questions. And there's a lot of people, I'm just trying to farm through it. Can I get a shout? Yes, you can, Juice World fan. Oh, Juice World fan, there you go. That's got to be something to do with raw foods and like healing. Orange juice is amazing. Juice is amazing. Juice is very hydrating. Just don't do what I do where you get yourself stuck on juice. I just think anything which isn't the like whole food, I have forgotten to eat here. I get so excited talking. Anything which is not the whole food just can become addictive. You don't hear people getting addicted to like, I guess you can. It's more like an eating disorder, I think. You get addicted to like one food. But I can see how it happens because it was happening to me when I had Mast Cell Activation Syndrome. And you get limited and you think you can only eat watermelon, and then watermelon makes you sick. You can only eat grapes. And it's just like until you actually are able to eat balance and find balance again. You do not only have time for fast food, you're just lazy. Well, look, it's not that people only have time for fast food. It's what they have now learnt. Like you've got to start with where they learn. Of course, no, but if you're eating, just say, no, they drive straight home and now they make themselves something healthy. That's essentially pushing them in too much pain. And then they stop doing it and throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's better to start with what you're doing and what you feel comfortable with and not being too uncomfortable that you just give up on health. Plus you've learnt some tools that if you're ever like busy after work, you know, you can grab some veggies, your favorite sauce, a side salad somewhere. That's what you evolve to. Obviously you're not going to start there. So no, I'm not English, I'm Australian. Hey JJ. There's a difference between... Someone's written here, there's a difference between confidence and annoyance. And there is, but you guys get the right to just move on too. Like, I don't know if it's to do with me or something else. Like if you don't like what I'm saying, that's the brilliance of YouTube, right? There's so much out there. I'm here for the people who want to talk to me and enjoy me. Have you tried high alkaline? Well, essentially I was doing that and I couldn't get out of bed. So when you say high alkaline, which I think works for a lot of people, where they have like lots of fruits during the day and then at night they're having like what they call like more of a high alkaline meal, where they're having like cooked sweet potato, maybe some quinoa, maybe some cooked mushrooms and cauliflower cooked. And that does well for some people, but for some reason, and I don't have a stomach, so I think it's just too inflammatory still. Yeah, so Hamster said, just track your food for a bit, figure out what works, then coast. If it doesn't have to be that deep. I think it's deep. I think a lot of people can get depressed and sad and sick and they don't like their job, and the weekend they've got coming up, they've got to care for their kids, and they have this moment that after work every day they have a meal that is their pleasure. And it's the way that the world's set up. It's not their fault, and they've learnt this from a young age, don't know any different. They didn't do it set out to hurt themselves. And you then say to them, okay, for you to get out of pain and get well, you've still got to do everything you're doing, but now you get no treat. You can't have any takeaway now. You've got to eat healthy. And that's why I'm all about meeting someone where they're at and saying, well, and plus you learn the skill then, because you've got this learnt behavior that this is a reward system. And when you find your right diet and you got to go through drive-through, you'll know you can get, you know, maybe you do get the hamburger, you get a smaller one, a side of veg, the salad, get the sauce, right? So your brain's still getting a treat. We in this world tend to come at things, and I think this is what happens when you go through what I've been through and you've walked different paths and you've been around a lot of sick people in hospitals and stuff, is you see nobody meant to end up there. We don't, right? But it's how do we get out of it? And I just think part of like our spiritual journey is, it's our own battle to get out. And what does that look like for each person? For another person, they don't care. They don't even care if they skip dinner. They've skipped dinner the last 10 years. So now having a watermelon juice for dinner is like an extra bonus. But for a person down the street, it's their whole world. Like they're literally getting through life right now because they have this moment in their car after work. So I think being as sick as I have like a huge amount of compassion for, and being at rock bottom. Like I've slept outside of hospitals hugging air conditioning, like, because that was the only, being homeless, it was the only source of warmth. And the biggest thing that, like, I literally sometimes like have thought I was going to die many times, but like when people have given me just like a bit of food or something, and I never meant to end up where I did, right? But I did. So and your view in different spots in your life is very different. So yeah, Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. I don't know if this is a serious question or not. Can you still breed? No, I've had a full hysterectomy at 30. So they didn't discover plants have nerves. They have like a biofeedback. So to have a nervous system, you have to have a spine and a brain to interpret that. They have found that they can feel pain. Or no, not feel, respond. And it was quite an amazing experiment as well. So this guy set a plant up with electrodes, and he would like go to light the plant, like put a flame in front of it, or like hurt the plant in some way, and there was no real response coming. And then what happened was I don't know whether he did, how this all came about. I can't remember the exact experiment, but then he started to notice the plant was responding when he would just think of something. So not so much even doing it as much as when he'd think, and he'd have other people come in and think about harming the plant. Because I think the experiments are pre-set up. So you go in and you just have the action. You don't pre-think, which has a lot of emotion attached in humans. So we're letting out a huge electromagnetic field when we have any thought. We're always changing, right? We're so much more than just matter. And so these plants started responding when people were thinking about, because he was trying to imagine new ways to hurt the plant. And when he was in that imagining, these electrodes started going off, and then they tested it and plants were responding. But then again, it's like, and as I've said, I do believe we're all energetics. There's definitely something to it. It's just that I've come to a place where it's like a symbiosis. I'm grateful for the plant giving itself for me, and I want to have the lowest impact on the planet. So this isn't just one thing and about just animals. This is about the whole planet. It doesn't benefit to grow a mass amount of plants to feed one animal, then hire someone to look after that animal, then, as I said, kill it, and then get to the butchers and whatever else happens to it. It's much easier to grow a small amount of plants on this planet as you look at the planet as a huge vibrational mass, and me just have the plants and fruit and nuts, which essentially the plant's given away, and there's just some greens. But as for the fruit, fruit is made to be eaten. That's how reproduction works. We're talking here about the actual plant, plus the plant keeps growing. But that was the interesting experiment. So someone said here, it depends how much thought you put into it. So I think thought is everything. And I bring this up a lot about Dr. Emoto and Dr. Emoto's experiments, and how, he projected onto one bottle of water like love and hope and peace and light, and then onto the other bottle of water, sad and bad and all these negative things. Put it in the freezer. In the next day, he scrapes off the crystals of the love bottle of water, and they're like sacred geometry, those perfect crystalline structures. The water's beautiful under the microscope. And he puts the crystals up from the negative water bottle, and they look like disease and fungus and deformed. And he's repeated this with rice, and he's done it all in different ways with different words. And all the high vibe words are create beauty. And basically those structures look like, when you do, I can't think what it's called right now, when you get you do sound waves, and that you start creating structures with sound waves. And they're the same sort of structures there. I believe life originally came somehow from sound, but also this energetics we don't really understand, is what I believe. And I feel like you can see that in nature everywhere. And we are attracted and we are healthier when we are closest to the golden ratio, which essentially high vibration does. So when people say it depends on how much thought you put into it, it's kind of, that's like the secret of life. And even like when you look at religious texts, and isn't it like in the beginning, it's like God spoke, and that's sound. Like it's just, it kind of, to me, all falls back to what we think, and then that vibrates out of us. And it's like the plants is it's interpreting our field change, and it lets out a vibration. What that actually means, it doesn't have a brain or a nervous system, so we don't know. But I do have a lot of respect for what plants do for us. They heal us, they help us. Yeah, so oh, that's okay. I want to speak on this. So what about semen facials for skincare? So it's like a hype thing now that everyone's having salmon sperm injected into their face. What, like, how I see like procedures and medical is like, you do, like, how do you explain it? You do everything you can naturally, and if you need something extra, you, once again, it's like the path of least resistance. How do I not harm myself or the planet too much? But like seeing people, it doesn't make sense. How would sperm ever without humans get in people's faces? It just doesn't, I don't know. I like that. Someone said, welcome everybody. Please like, share, subscribe, and activate the notification bell to watch more enjoyable content. Yes, you should do that. Let's eat mosquitoes. Let's not. Let's definitely not. I eat banana peel and potato skin. There's nutrients there. Oh my gosh, there's so much going on here. You need the fats. I don't know what that means. Is grass blades crying but you? I didn't say I was cruelty free. I said I'm vegan, which means I love myself and animals, and I take the path of least impact on the planet. So stop, like, people would like to find all the negatives in the world, and then you know that when they turn around, when you switch this off, your lens in the world is like always seeking out the negative. You've got to keep seeking the positive and love what you have. It's like a huge part of my healing journey is if like when I first got well and I went out into the world and I got up and everyone's like, you're well. And I'm like, yes, I eat this raw food diet. I can't do that. I don't like strawberries. I'm like, oh, okay. It healed everything. I can't do that. I've got kids. And then I start to realize everyone in the world comes at things with why they can't do things. I know it's a protective thing, but you got to try coming at like, okay, you know what? This girl's doing really well. I think that this is like something that may help me. You know, I'm going to include some more raw carrots in my week. You don't have to go fully raw, but it's like come at things with like, if this is something which seems beneficial and I'm like, I'm feeling good here, why did I stay to say why I can't do things? Like it doesn't, because then you know that you're doing that in other areas of your life. And I was someone who thought, you know, no, I don't do it everywhere, until I look back on my life and I was. You just don't see it. But it's like, if something seems good, you don't have to take the whole thing. Like, you know, you just, you know, you do a little bit which works for you, you get inspired. And instead of being like putting someone down as to why, you know, what's negative, that's basically how I live my life and stay high vibe and stay in the principles of Dr. Emoto, where things are going good and creation and love and light. You interpret pain different in plants and other animals. I think people are having a fight about plants and animals, and I just think, guys, there's like so much that you could be like, you know, because someone's on a live and you could be asking questions, and it's like there's no need. It doesn't really, you can believe what you're going to believe. It's not going to change after this live. But, you know, what I find is, I don't know, I just share what I've learned. If it impacts somebody, I think that's it now. Using, Yes, it is like stress is the dictator of life evolution. Like I only feel that I have evolved. All of my strength in the light comes from the dark because of what I've endured in my hardest times is why I can do what I do here. And it's like I always bring up Dr. Emoto, always bring up how Ed Sheeran said he doesn't learn anything when he wins a Grammy. He learnt things when he had a lisp as a kid and had to learn music and get home from school and not like everyone else. He had to learn how to overcome his lisp and learnt music. Or when he lost a business partner and everything was going downhill, he had to learn how to pull back up. But winning a Grammy, winning like the highlight, we learn through suffering. But what we learn in suffering is what we use when we, feeling good. So, all right, guys, I'm going to go off and finish my cabbage. I hope that helped some of you. It was originally to start with an update about where I was at with the omega-3s, and it went on. But I will see you all soon, and I will, when I get back, film a long, or even maybe while I'm up here, I'll see, but it's probably more beneficial for you guys to do a long, like it goes for like an hour. What I eat all day, what I do, what I get up, how I do my hair, what I put on my skin in my environment, because that's what I mostly do. So I'll do that. All right.